Houston here in Houston, Texas. We're covering the 269, the cash flow quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. It's the second book in the series from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and this is the book we'll be covering. This is very important to understand the mental mindset, the mindset, and how to see money and how to understand money and make sure that um, that you can take out all the financial noise out there and get accurate and qualified information and be able to make a good decision. Robert Kiyosaki had this saying one time, and it says like one side of the story is a sales pitch. Both sides of a story is an education because that way you get to decide which information to use. All right, looks like everything's good to go. Camera, everything. All right. So we're going back down to 269. And by the way, that cash flow quadrant back here is employee on the top left, self-employed on the bottom left, business owner on the top right, and employee investor on the bottom right. So these are the four quadrants of income and the four quadrants of activities that help us to give us a guidepost and to understand where we are at. And by the way, someone could put the PDF in the chat. That would be very valuable. All right, that 269. Scrolling down. Okay, I can do it a little bit faster. All right, so we're starting off back on page chapter 16, step 6, make disappointment your strength. Inside every disappointment lies a priceless gem of wisdom. When I left the Marine Corps, Rich Dad recommended that I get a job and taught me how to sell. Excuse me. When I left the Marine Corps, Rich Dad recommended that I get a job that taught me how to sell. He knew I was shy and that learning to sell was the last thing in the world I wanted to do. For 2 years, I was the worst salesman in the company. I could not sell a life preserver to a drowning man. My shyness was painful, not only for me, but also to the customers I was trying to sell. For those 2 years, I was often on probation and always on the verge of being fired. I often blamed the company, excuse me, I often blamed the economy, the product I was trying to sell, or even the customers for my lack of success, basically blaming everybody else but himself. But Rich Dad told me when people are lame, they love to blame. When people are lame, they love to blame. He meant that the emotional pain from the disappointment is so strong that a person pushes the pain onto someone else's through blame. And that's in life in general. In order to learn to sell, I had to face the pain of disappointment. But in the process of learning to sell, I found a priceless lesson how to turn disappointment into an asset rather than a liability. Here in Rich Dad's philosophy, an asset is things that generate value, generate money, generate opportunity. A liability is something that takes time, energy, money, opportunity, or value. Whenever I meet people who are afraid to try something new, in most cases, the reason lies in their fear of being disappointed. They are afraid they might make a mistake or get rejected. If you are ready to start your journey to the financial fast track, which is the rat race, is where we're just grinding away on the left side of the cash flow quadrant as an employee or self-employed, and we don't really have any leverage. The financial fast track is when you have assets, you have royalties, you have some kind of income that is generated through assets, passive or active income that basically is generated through not through your personal effort. and that is the left side of the right side of the quadrant, excuse me, and that is the financial fast tracks. And your goal is to make your expenses, your passive income equal and exceed your expenses. And in his game, Cashflow, which is on richdad.com, he goes into the financial game of learning how to move from the rat race to the financial fast track. So that's what that's referring to. If you are ready to start your journey to the financial fast track, I offer you the same words of advice and encouragement that Rich Dad offered to me when I was learning something new. Be prepared to be disappointed. He meant this in a positive, not negative sense. He believed that if you are prepared for disappointment, you can turn that disappointment into an asset. I like to say, call it taking trash into cash or something like that. Most people turn disappointment into a liability, a long-term one. You notice this when they say, I'll never do that again, or I should have known I would fail. Basically, they're projecting failure into the future. Just as inside every problem lies an opportunity, inside every disappointment lies a precious gem of wisdom. And one of the things that I learned in psychology and in other modalities of helping people to move forward is there's emotion and there's information that's inside every exchange. And a lot of times we have people with trauma or something like that, and unfortunately it's tied with emotion. Emotions is how we're driven. So if you can take the emotion and neutralize that, what you're left with is wisdom, the gold of the situation. Literally, the treasure inside the situation is the wisdom. Whenever I hear someone say, okay, I think I got that. I'll just read it again. Whenever I hear someone say, I'll never do that again, I know I'm listening to someone who has stopped learning. An interesting fact in our brain, whenever our brain does not hear the word no, it hurt. So it 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 does things that's really interesting. It's very, whenever you say anything after the word I, like I am, it's a command to your brain. And be careful what you say at the word I or I am, because make sure it's good stuff. Make sure it's something you want your brain to know and execute, instead of something that you don't want to repeat over and over again. They are letting disappointment stop them. Disappointment has erected a protective wall around them instead of a foundation from which to grow. Rich Dad helped me learn how to deal with deep emotional disappointments. He would say, the reason there are few self-made rich people is because few people can tolerate disappointment. Instead of learning to face disappointment, they spend their lives avoiding it. Rich Dad believed that disappointment is an important part of learning. I'm going to read that again. Rich Dad believed that disappointment is an important part of learning. How can you learn without failure? You'll never, there's no wisdom. It's always just experience without any actual learning. Rich Dad believed that disappointment is an important part of learning. Just as we learn from our mistakes, we gain character from our disappointments. A lot of times we learn more by fixing the problem than just having a smooth and easy opportunity or experience, and the character we gain from it. The following are some words of advice he gave to me over the years. Expect to be disappointed. Rich Dad often said, only fools expect everything to go the way they want. Expecting to be disappointed does not mean being passive or a defeated loser. Expecting to be disappointed is a way of mentally and emotionally preparing yourself to be ready for the surprises that you may not want. By being emotionally prepared, you can be calm and dignified when things don't go your way. When you are calm, you think better. I can go into more things about the brain too about that. Over the years, I've met many people with great new business ideas. Their excitement lasts about a month, and then disappointment begins to wear them down. Soon, their excitement is diminished, and all you hear them say is, "That was a good idea, but it didn't work." It's not the idea that didn't work. It was a disappointment that it was the it was disappointment that worked harder. I'm going to read that again. It's not the idea that didn't work. It was disappointment that worked harder. They allow their impatience to turn into disappointment, and then they allow the disappointment to turn to defeat them. Many times, this impatience is because they did not receive immediate financial reward. Business owners and investors may wait years to see cash flow from a business or investment, but they go into it with the knowledge that success may take time. They also know that when success is achieved, the financial reward will be well worth their wait. Have a mentor standing by, like those emergency numbers for fire and police that we always have handy. Who is on your list of trusted and knowledgeable contacts? For me, my financial mentors take center stage. They are only a phone call away if I have a financial emergency. Often, before I go into a deal or a venture, I call one of my friends and explain that I am what I am doing and what I intend to accomplish. I also ask them to stand by in case I find myself in over my head, which is often. Well, if you're not stretching yourself, you're not getting it over your head, excuse me. I was once negotiating for a large piece of real estate with a seller who was playing hardball and changing the terms at closing. He knew I wanted the property and he was doing his best to get more money from me at the last minute. Having a hot temper, my emotions went out of control, but instead of blowing the deal by yelling and shouting, which is my normal inclination, I simply asked if I could use the phone to call my partner. I talked to my three friends who were standing by. After getting their advice on how to handle the situation, I calmed down and learned three new ways of negotiating that I had not known before. The deal never went through, but still, I use those negotiating techniques today, techniques I would never have learned if I had not tried to do the deal. That knowledge is priceless. The point is that we can never know everything beforehand, and we often only learn things when we need to learn them. That is why I recommend that you try new things and expect disappointment, but always have a mentor standing by to coach you through the experience. Many people never start projects simply because they do not have all the answers. You will never have all the answers, but begin anyway. One of my friends always says, many people will not head down the street until all the lights are green. That is why they don't go anywhere. Okay, be kind to yourself. One of the most painful aspects about making a mistake or failing at something is not what other people say about us, but it's how hard we are on ourselves. Most people who make a mistake beat themselves up far more than anyone else would. I like to think of that. We're 10 times harder than on ourselves than we are on anyone outside of us. And if you just have your own experience, you'll know that's true. And that's what he's saying right here. I have found that people who are hard on themselves mentally and emotionally are often too cautious when it comes to taking risks, adopting new ideas, or attempting something new. It is hard to learn anything new if you punish yourself for your personal disappointments. Tell the truth. One of the worst punishments I ever received as a child was the day I accidentally broke my sister's front tooth. She ran home to tell my dad, and I ran to hide. After my father found me, he was very angry. He scolded me. The reason I am punishing you isn't because you broke your sister's tooth, but because you ran away. Financially, there have been many times I could have run from my mistakes, but running away is taking the easy way out. In short, we make mistakes. We all feel upset and disappointed when things don't go our way. The difference lies in how we process that disappointment. Rich Dad said, the size of your success is measured by the strength of your desire, the size of your dream, and how you handle disappointment along the way. I'll read that one again. Rich Dad said, the size of your success is measured by the strength of your desire, the size of your dream, and how you handle disappointment along the way. In the next few years, we will have financial changes that will test our courage. As Bob Dylan sang, many times the times they are changing. Bob Dylan saying, the times they are changing. The people who are most in are okay. The people who are most in control of their emotions, who do not let their emotions hold them back, and who have the emotional maturity to learn new financial skills will flourish in the years ahead. The future belongs to those who can change with the times and use personal disappointments as building blocks for the future. Take action. 1. Make mistakes. That is why I recommend starting with baby steps. Remember that losing is part of winning. E's and S's are trained to think that making mistakes is not acceptable. When you're in school and you receive a failing grade, it can be devastating, or it can definitely be a disappointment, and it could be a matter of guilt or shame. And that's how we're trained through school. B's and I's know that making mistakes are how they learn. They just call them learning experiences and learning opportunities, and they become stronger. So failure makes B's and I's stronger. Failure makes E's and S's weaker, or at least that's the general pattern. Start small. If you find an investment you want to invest in, put a little money down. It's amazing how quickly your intelligence grows when you have money on the line. Don't be the ranch, your mortgage payment, or your retirement. Simply put a little money down and pay attention and learn. The key is to take action. Reading, watching, and listening are all crucial to your education, but you must also start doing. Many offers on small real estate deals that will generate positive cash flow. Excuse me. Make offers on small real estate deals that will generate positive cash flow. Join a network marketing company and learn about it from the inside. Invest in stock after researching the company. Seek advice from your mentor or financial or tax advisor if you need it. As Nike says, just do it. Okay, we're going on to chapter 17. And I think, yeah, we'll power through this one, and then I'll open it up after this. I think we should be able to knock this one out. Let's see, chapter 17, step 7 of, I think it's 7, the power of faith. The only person who determines the thoughts you choose to believe about yourself is you. In my senior year of high school, Rich Dad's son, Mike, and I were lined up in front of a small group of students made up primarily of leaders of our class. Our guidance counselor turned to Mike and me and declared, "The two of you will never amount to anything." Some of our classmates laughed as the counselor continued, "From now on, I am not going to waste any more of my time on either." I am going to spend my time with those students who are the class leaders. You two are the class clowns with bad grades, and you will never amount to anything. Now get out of here. Biggest favor of all. That counselor did Mike and me a huge favor. While her words hurt us deeply, they also inspired both of us to strive even harder. Her words carried us through college and into our own businesses. High school reunion. After a few years ago, Mike and I went into our high school reunion. Always an interesting perspective. It was nice to visit with people we had spent 3 years with during a period of time when none of us really knew who we were. It was also interesting to see that most of the so-called senior leaders had not become successful in the years after high school. Mike and I were not academic whiz kids. We were not class leaders, financial geniuses, or athletic stars. For the most part, we were slow to average learners and students. In my opinion, we were not as naturally gifted as our fathers, but it was those stringing, excuse me, but it was those stinging words from that guidance counselor, coupled with the sickening, excuse me, that's coupled with the snickering from our classmates that gave us the fire to plug along, to learn from our mistakes, and to keep going in both good times and bad. Isn't that true? In a lot of cases, there's things when there things are very important to us, and there's another person that talks about this. When things are really high up in importance to you, you'll overcome any obstacle. You'll push through anything, and it'll give you the emotion of fire, of burning desire and pain, the pain that pushes you. So there's pain that stops you and there's pain that pushes you because you say, I'll never do that again. Yet what you have that dream that focuses you and you have the desire to overcome and have people that were making fun of you, snickering you, and belittling you, they actually make you mad, so therefore you achieve things even more. So there we go. Just because you did not do well in school, were not popular, are not good in math, are rich or poor, or have other reasons to sell yourself short, none of it matters in the long run. Those so-called shortcomings only count if you think they count, if you put weight on them in that way. For those of you who are considering embarking on your own financial fast track, you may have some doubts about your abilities. All I can say is trust that you have everything you need right now to be financially successful. All it takes to bring out your all it takes to bring out your natural God-given gifts is your desire, determination, and a deep faith that you have a genius and a gift that is unique. I'm going to read that again. All I can say is trust that you have everything you need right now to be successful financially. All it takes to bring out your natural God-given gifts is your desire, determination, and a deep faith that you have a genius and a gift that is unique. That is every single one of us that's inside of us. There is a genius that is waiting to come out, and it's it's amazing. And it can be demonstrated that every single one of us is a genius in our own way. Look in the mirror and listen to the words. A mirror reflects back more than just a visual image. It often reflects back our thoughts. How often have we seen people look in the mirror and say such things as, "Oh, I look horrible. I have put on that much weight. I'm really getting old." Or, my, I am damn good looking. I am God's gift to women." Here's that word again. Everything you say after I is critical, or I am. Here's I am. It's in your brain. It is a command of your brain. It's literally programming you. So be careful what you unconsciously say as a reaction to things. Consciously choose words that you want and commands to your brain that you want to receive and experience. Be very conscious of the words after I or I am. And you could hear it. If you listen to other people, you'll see them say things after the word I and I am, and you'll go, wow, why are they saying that about themselves? And you'll see, just pay attention. It's an amazing phenomenon and how you can turn your life around by that just one little process. Thoughts are reflections. Mirrors reflect back much more than just what the eye see. Mirrors are also reflect back your thoughts and our opinions of ourselves. These thoughts or opinions are much more important than our outward appearance. Many of us have met people who are beautiful on the outside, but believe that they are ugly, or people who are great love. I'm gonna start that again. Many of us have met people who are beautiful on the outside, but believe that they are ugly, or people who are greatly loved by others, but cannot love themselves. Our deepest thoughts are often reflections of our souls. Thoughts are a reflection of our love for ourselves, our egos, or dislike of ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and our overall self opinion. Money doesn't stay with people who don't trust themselves. Personal truths are often spoken in moments of peak emotion. I'll say that again. Personal truths are often spoken in moments of peak emotion. After explaining the cash flow quadrant to an individual or a group, I give them a moment to decide their next step. First, they decide which quadrant they are in right now. Next, I ask them which quadrant would they like to move to if they need to move. Some people look at me and say, I am happy exactly where I am. Others say, I am not happy, but I am not willing to change or move at this time. And back to the cash flow quadrant, ES is employee, self-employed, left side. BI is the more passive. So B could be considered 50 to 250 employees or more as a big business. And also, I is an investor where it's completely passive, where you're investing in businesses and you're investing in assets. So that's an important distinction, and that's why it's you have to be mentally and emotionally. There's an emotional and a mental component to each of the four quadrants that is important. Some people look at me and say, I am happy exactly where I am. Others say, I am not happy, but I am not willing to change at this time. And then there are people who are unhappy where they are now and they need to do something immediately. People in this category often speak most clearly about their personal truths. They use words that reflect their opinions of themselves, words that reflect their soul. And that is why I say personal truths are spoken in moments of peak emotion. At these moments of truth, I often hear, I can't do that. I can't move from the S to the B. Are you crazy? I have a wife and three kids. See the words after the word I or I am. Pay attention to that. I can't do that. I can't wait 5 years before I get another paycheck. Invest? You want me to lose all my money, don't you? I don't have a money. I don't have money to invest. I need more information before I do anything. I tried that before. It doesn't work. I don't need to know how to read financial statements. I can get by. I don't have to worry. I'm still young. That's I am. I'm not smart enough. It's clear examples. I would do it if I could find the right people to do it with me. My husband would never go for it. My wife would never understand. What would my friends say? I too old. I'm too young. It's not worth it. I'm not worth it. Hmm. All words are mirrors. Personal truths are spoken at moments of peak emotion. One of the interesting things about our mind and our brains is that when we are more stressed, our brain goes down into more of our basic programming, and you'll notice that people can act like a throw a tantrum like a 2-year old under severe stress because our it's almost like the energy, our blood flow, everything from our normal cognizant calm mind goes into our more basic brains, and we start uh, going from the basic programming and our basic survival instincts kick in, and we start reacting not like we normally do, but under stress. And by the way, other impediments like alcohol, accidents, anything that makes our brain under stress, it starts acting very interesting, and our core subconscious actions, reactions start coming out. And it's very interesting to see when people are under stress of how they react, because it shows their character and what and their personal growth. My best advice for those of you who are ready to move from one quadrant to another, the most important advice is to know, I know, to give to you, excuse me, for those of you who are ready to move from one quadrant to another, the most important advice I know to give to you is to be very aware of your words. Yes. Be especially aware of the words that come from your heart, your stomach, and your soul. By the way, you have a lot of uh, neurons in your stomach. It's been proven that you have a second brain in your stomach. You have a heart, is also has neurons like a brain. It's your first brain, by the way, because when you're developing, that's the first thing that starts beating, and it has to have its own intelligence to do it. So you literally have intelligence in your head, your heart, and your stomach. It's proven. And your soul is, between you and your maker. If you are going to make a change, you must be aware of the thoughts and the words generated by your emotions. If you are not aware when your emotions are doing your thinking, you will never survive the journey. You will always hold yourself back. If you say, my spouse will never understand, you are really saying more about yourself. You may be using your spouse as an excuse for your own inaction, or you might actually be saying, I don't have the, again, I don't have the courage or communication skills to convey these new ideas. All words are mirrors that provide opportunities for you to look into your soul. Or if you say, I can't stop working and start my own business, I have a mortgage and a family to think about. You might really be saying, I'm tired. I don't want to do anymore, or I really don't want to learn anything. These are personal truths. And did you see what I'm talking about after the word I? These are literally commands. And by the way, one interesting fact about that is, let's say you're coming up to a cabinet and you're at your friend's house and you're cooking or something, and they say, can you get the salt out of that cabinet right there? And if you open the cabinet and the first thing out of your mouth is, I can't see the salt, your brain is trying to protect you. So if you say, I can't see it, it makes it so you literally can't recognize it. So if you keep on saying, I can't see it, I can't see it, I can't see it, you'll never see it. What if you said, on the other hand, oh, I see the salt, I see the salt, I see the salt in your own mind as a command, and then all of a sudden you find it? It's an interesting fact that your brain will literally work along those commands. Be careful what you say out loud and into yourself after the word I or I am, because that's literally what happens. It's a proven fact in psychology. So check that out. Personal truths are also personal lies. These are truths and they are also lies. If you lie to yourself, or your journey will never be completed. My best advice is to listen to your doubts, your fears, and limiting thoughts, and then dig deeper for the truth. That's important to write them down, because a lot of this stuff is just unconscious, that it was from the past, and it was from your past experiences, and you made decisions that were based upon those past experiences. And by the way, you probably made them from inaccurate, incomplete, or outright lies. And I remember so many decisions I made from that, from birth all the way to now. If you don't have a full picture, like Robert Kiyosaki talks about, if you don't have both sides of the story, if you don't see the complete picture, you're making decisions, and you're programming yourself in a way that makes you blind, literally, to what's the reality of what's going on. Personal truths are also personal lies. And these are truths, and they are also lies. If you lie to yourself, your journey will never be completed. I think I read that already. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to the next part. Our journey. Before Kim and I could move forward, we had to be willing to live with the opinions and criticisms we each had about ourselves. We had to be willing to live with doubts, not let them stop us. We had to be willing to live with doubts, but not let them stop us. Occasionally, the pressure would get to the boiling point, and our self criticisms would flare up. That's our unconscious past that's trying to protect us, but also limits us. I would blame her for my doubts. Wow. And she would blame me for hers. But we both knew before starting out on this journey that the only thing we had to ultimately face was our own personal doubts, criticisms, and inadequacies. Our real job as husband and wife, business partners, and soulmates along this journey was to keep reminding each other that each of us was much more powerful than our individual doubts, pettinesses, and inadequacies. In that process, we learned to trust ourselves more. The ultimate goal for us was more than to simply get rich. It was to learn to be trustworthy with ourselves as well as with money. An interesting point. It's who you become along the journey, not the destination. Remember that the only person who determines the thoughts you choose to believe about yourself is you. So the reward from the journey is not only the financial freedom that money buys, but the trust you gain in yourself. My best advice is to prepare daily to be bigger than your smallness. Let me read that again. My best advice is to prepare daily to become bigger than your smallness. I think I've heard before, the size of the problem determines the size of the person. What the size of the problem that they can overcome determines the size of the person and their personal growth. In my opinion, the reason most people stop and turn back from their dream is because the tiny person found inside of each of us wields more power than our bigger person. Yeah, we're 95% unconscious and 5% conscious. The 5% directs the 95%, but the 95% wields a lot of force. So our job is to overcome the 95% of our mind that's subconscious with the 5%. And it's a task, but it's definitely doable. Even though you may not be good at everything, take time developing what you need to learn, and your world will change rapidly. Never run from what you know you need to learn. Face your fears and doubts, and the new worlds will open to you. Face your fears and doubts, and new worlds will open to you. Take action. Believe in yourself. Start today. I'm going to go ahead and stop right here. I think, let's see, we're on page 281. I just want to verify 281. I think, yeah. Oh, actually, hmm, it's only two pages. So I'll go ahead and go for it. Chapter 18, in summary, begin building pipelines of cash flow to support you and your family. Kim and I used these 7 steps to move from being homeless to becoming financially free in a few short years. These 7 steps helped us find our own financial fast track, and we continue to use them today. I trust they can assist you in charting your own course to financial freedom. To do so, you must be true to yourself. If you are not yet a long-term investor, get yourself there as fast as you can. What does this mean? Sit down and map out a plan to get control of your spending habits. Minimize your debt and liabilities. Live within your means and then expand your means. Find out how much money invested per find out how much money invested per month or how many months at a realistic rate of return will you take you. Let me read that one more time. Find out how much money invested per month for how many months at a realistic rate of return will help you reach your goals of retiring, creating cash flow, and gaining financial freedom. No, it wasn't me. Simply having a long-term plan that reduces your consumer debt while putting away a small amount of money regularly will give you a head start if you are ready, or if you start early enough and keep an eye on what you are doing. At this level, keep it simple. Don't get fancy. The reason I introduced you to the cash flow quadrant in the 5 levels of investors and my 3 types of investors is to offer you many glimpses into who you are, what your interests may be, and who you want to ultimately become. I like to believe that anyone can find their own unique path to the financial fast track, regardless of which quadrant they operate from. Remember what I said previously. Your boss's job is to give you a job. Your job is to make yourself rich. You are your own boss. You are the captain of your own ship. Are you ready to stop hauling water buckets and begin building pipelines of the cash flow to support you, your family, and your lifestyle? That's reference to the beginning story of the book. Mind your own business might be difficult at sometimes, confusing, especially at first. There's a lot to learn, regardless how much you already know. It's a lifelong process. But the good news is that the hardest part of the process is at the start. Once you make the commitment, life really does get easier and easier. Minding your own business is not hard to do. It's just common sense. And by the way, he also talked about find mentors. Find someone that's already been down the road. Find someone that's climbed the mountains. And that's what most companies have is a board of a board that basically are people that have done the work, overcome the challenges, and created more to it. I guess I'll just read this one last part and then we'll be done with this book, it looks like. Okay. About the author and Robert Kiyosaki. Best known as the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, #1 personal financial book at all time, Robert Kiyosaki has challenged and changed the way tens of millions of people around the world think about money. He is an entrepreneur, educator, investor who believes in the world needs more entrepreneurs who will create jobs. With perspective on money, investing often contradicts conventional wisdom. Robert has earned an international reputation for straight talk, irreverence, and courage, and has become a passionate and outspoken advocate for financial education. Robert and Kim Kiyosaki are founders of the Rich Dad Company, a financial education company that creators of the Cashflow games. In 2013, the company will leverage the global success of the Rich Dad games in the launch of a new breakthrough offering of mobile and online gaming. Robert has been heralded as a visionary who has gift for simplifying complex concepts. He has shared his personal journey to financial freedom in ways that resonate with the audiences, all ages and backgrounds. His core principles and messages, like your house is not an asset, invest for cash flow, and his prediction and rich dad prophecy ignited the first firestorm of criticism and ridicule, only to have it played out in the world economic stage over the past decade in ways that are both unsettling and prolific, prophetic. Excuse me. By the way, this was actually written in 2011, so it's amazing what's happening right now that is relevant to this. His point of view is that old advice, go to college, get a job, save money, and get out of debt, invest for long term, and diversify has become obsolete advice in today's fast-paced information age. His rich dad philosophy, his rich dad philosophies and message challenge the status quo. His teachings encourage people to become financially educated and to take an active role in investing for their future. Okay, let's open it up, Fernando. Let's see. Let me get myself out of the way. All right, we are at the end of the book. So, and here's the back cover for those who would like to read it.
Wow, Jameson, thank you so much for wrapping up the reading of this book. I'm taking a lot with me. As a matter of fact, we got about 10 minutes to kind of close up. But again, Jameson, thank you so much for reading for us today and for actually reading, a lot of the book you and Eric Wilner have definitely provided us with tremendous knowledge, education, and not only that, but your energy, what you bring to the table. It's fun to read, but it's fun to hear and read at the same time and then have conversations afterwards. So one thing I'm taking with me today is simple. Uh, expect to be disappointed. I think these are the things that we get desperate with. When we have something in front of us, we tend to become desperate and we cannot tolerate disappointment. Um, and I took some notes. The reason there are a few self made rich people is because few people can tolerate disappointment. Another thing that I'm also taking with me is if you're going to start something, start with small steps. Meaning, if you want to experience something in the business world, he also advised network marketing. Network marketing allows you to take those small steps to be able to start transitioning your thought process. And I believe that if you break the formula of what network marketing has to offer, it can lead you into bigger opportunities. Because if you learn to negotiate with little investments, and then you teach other people to negotiate with little investments and learning to handle disappointments, I believe, as a community in the network marketing space, we can build humongous things. And that's the reason why we have a space in the precious metals arena now, because we came together as a community and our CEO was willing to negotiate this and put it on the table to the company that we're with. So that to me, it meant a whole lot because it's all of us investing a little bit so we can, become a big community in regards to the volume that we can bring to precious metals. And that's what I'm thinking with you today, um, Jameson. Be kind to yourself, tell the truth, and many more things that I could talk about. But I got my notepad here, so I like to read, but at the same time, I like to take my educational, notes just to kind of comprehend it and see what this is all about. And it looks like we have Dr. G.W. Parker here. I guess, as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, he's got a lot to share with tremendous news about what we're going to be doing next. So, Dr. G.W. Parker, good morning. Happy Saturday.
Great morning, Fernando. Outstanding reading, Jameson, as always. Guys, this book is powerful. But Jameson, there was a part in it, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment. But you talked about Robert Kiyosaki talked about that chapter on faith, right? Just believing that what you need to succeed is already in you. It's a gift that God has given all of us. But we second guess ourselves. We don't push forward to really pull out that true potential that exists. Guys, that was the best part of the book to me. I mean, I love the financial principles and understanding it, but you've got to have enough belief in yourself to know that whatever it is you desire, the dream is real. It didn't just, where did it come from? God put it in your heart, right? So now we've got to act on these things. And we've got to have the faith. Faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. We got to believe that these things are possible. I'm inspired all over again, but I am excited, Fernando, because next Saturday we have an opportunity to launch Get Excited or Stay Broke Forever. And I just can't wait. It's been an exciting process for me to put the book together, but to share it with others and see that in some way, the goal is to inspire people, to motivate people, to move people, to help them understand exactly what Robert Kiyosaki is talking about, that what you need to succeed has already been given to you. The gift exists within you. We've got to activate it. We've got to move on it. And we've got to get these things done, because the life that you desire is the life that you deserve. So let's have it. Let's live it. Let's share it.
Dr. Parker, one of the things that you really exemplify, and Fernando and all the other leaders, is you see the genius in people around you that they can't see themselves, because they've been conditioned through life and through experiences that, to think small, or they think in failure terms. And as you exemplify people, as you show them their genius, you're like the mirrors that reflect what's inside of them that they can't see themselves. And that's another thing about people and their heroes. The people that they actually see as their heroes, or they look up to, or they're like, wow, they're amazing. What it really is that something that's already inside of themselves that they see outside of themselves, and they go, yes, I admire that. And our leadership, through yourself, Dr. Parker, Fernando, and all the other leadership, our CEO, the chief financial officer, Andamo, everyone actually reflects how amazing that each individually we all are, and that we can't see it ourselves. And we have to borrow the faith, the vision, that their confidence in us, that they see that we are trying to blossom from inside. And that's the genius that is hidden within us until we actually stretch and grow. Thank you very much, Dr. Parker. And I'm excited about the book. I'm excited about the learning. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. But you're absolutely right, Jameson, because 20 plus years ago, when I had an opportunity to meet Brian House, it appeared to me that he saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And this guy was willing to pour into me. And I give him a great deal of credit as to where I am right now, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But you're absolutely right. I didn't have the confidence, but he saw something. He saw something in me and kept encouraging me, and he kept pouring in. And here are the results, guys. So it does work.
And
See,
you give the gift that keeps on giving. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing gift. It's an amazing service, and it's amazing gift, because I'm sure as he and you and Fernando and all the leaders experience, you probably get as much and more from giving that gift, and it resonates within you, and it just makes you want to grow more too. It's an amazing gift.
you know what? It reciprocates because, see, in business, especially what we do, is we're looking for students, right? And who want to pay the price. And these are people that constantly show up. So we're looking for people to show up. The first test that anybody wants to learn is the show up test. And that's exactly how I learned when my mentor told me back in 1994, those that show up are the people that are going to get close, and they're going to keep themselves close to the fire. And if you show up for 5 years on a consistent basis, you're going to start to adopt new philosophies, new ideas. You're going to start hearing the people that are having the success, and stay close to those people that you can actually learn from, where you can move from the back of the row of the seats to the front row of the seats. And that was the objective, James. So when I started it, I was like a plumber, just my mindset was, I'm shy. I can't talk to people. I don't know anything about this, but they're telling me that I can learn. So they gave me a chance to do that, sitting in the back rows of the seats. So what got me closer towards the middle, because that's how they used to do it, right? They used to sit the leaders in the front. Was in order for you to be in the front, they had a board of numbers, like how many people they brought to the business, how many sales they closed. And I always used to look at that board with about 50 names. But I would look the top three names. They had like huge numbers. And I was like, wow, you mean to tell me that these three people almost control the entire numbers of the entire team? So long story short, I think we got to learn to surround ourselves where the fire is, with the leaders that we want to imitate, right? So eventually we can feel it for ourselves. And the minute that we start to transition from their ideas and starting to using their ideas into our own ideas is starting to connect by making a lot of mistakes. I think you read that today. You have to learn to make a lot of mistakes, because right here, you're not judged by the errors and the failures. You are judged by the scoreboard. But in order for you to be close to the scoreboard, you have to fail a whole lot. Like right now, I'm working a huge list of contacts, and it's not an easy task. You know why? Because lots of people can't see what you see. No matter how much you expose it to them, they're not going to see it. But what is it that we're doing? We're actually, I just think about the biblical principles, and I'm not being religious, but I'm trying to think about what Jesus did to find 12 disciples. Exposed to the masses, exposed to the masses. A lot of people rejected him. They probably laughed at him. And so when you know that the biggest network marketer was Jesus, and we still live under those principles, it only gives us the opportunity to say, listen, we got to learn to master our craft, and we have to learn to expose and make a ton of mistakes. No matter who's going to laugh at you, no matter what they're going to say about you, but if you believe in the principles of what we have. And I was talking to Mr. Brian House yesterday, and he tells me, the entire process of what he has been through since 2017 is not an easy task to run a company. You know why? Because you got to constantly be improving things. And in order for you to improve things, there has to be a lot of failures in the process. See what's working, see what doesn't work, see what's working and what doesn't work. So these are the things that we can actually come together with, is to understand exactly how to position ourselves from an employee, self-employee, to a business owner and an investor. And I believe that the platform that we're in allows us the chance to be able to get away from the E and S to position ourselves in the B and I quadrant. So, Jameson, once again, thank you so very much. Dr. G.W. Parker, I know that we're going to start reading your book next Saturday. We're going to cut the red ribbon here and celebrate that book. Get excited or stay broke forever. What a title. Jameson, what do you think about that? You already got the book, right?
Yes, sir, I do. And I haven't cracked into it with effort, and I'm excited about it. But what I've read and what I've heard is amazing principles, and the wisdom. This is like wisdom that comes from experience. Then Dr. Parker is not only in business, but in other aspects of his life that has brought that all together. And when we have modern day, we'll call it prophets, people that are definitely helping, a good amount of people, they learn from trying to help people and what works and what doesn't work, and then what succeeds. And so you just keep on doing that. So you gather all of the pieces of the successes that you've experienced through helping people, and you just keep on best practices. That's what Brian House did. That's what all successful people do, is they keep on, it's like what worked, what didn't work, and just keep on doing what worked. But you have to try. Like you're saying, failure is you try something, it doesn't work. Well, it's like Thomas Edison. That didn't work, so you just keep on
Exactly.
going, and you just keep on building on success. And that's what Dr. Parker's book does. It's like it's a buildup of all the successes that he has had, and probably one of the things I've learned from people, they sometimes they actually go over their failures. They diagnose their failures. And I remember there was some gentleman that was saying that I'm not going to tell you about how brag about or what all my successes. I'm going to tell you all the failures I experienced, and you learn more, even from someone
Yeah.
else's failures. So going over what didn't work and how bad it was, like you've gone over like being a plumber, you've gone over the failures of your other companies. Sometimes we learn as people that are trying to understand and how to be in our own business from a small portion. We learn more from our leaders' mistakes, and we gain more courage, more wisdom, more internal trusting ourselves. Like, wow, if you made all those mistakes, if you did that and you're still successful, maybe I can make mistakes. It gives us room to explore and a bigger box to play in, we'll call it a bigger sandbox. Because if we're trying to get it right the first time, failure is the only way we're gonna go.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
and that
I mean,
emotionally, yeah, messes us up.
it sure does. We got to learn again, and it goes back to what you just read in the book and what the last section of the book was about is expect to be disappointed. Don't get surprised by it. The reason there are a few self-made rich people is because few people can tolerate disappointment. That's the only reason. It's the only reason. I mean, there was an interview, long story short, hey, but before I talk about the little interview here, if anybody wants to raise their hand and, you can open your camera, your microphone, by all means, please do. And then I'll say what I was going to say. Next, anyone? Or what is it that you're taking with you? Well, it looks like everyone's taking notes. All right. We're going to get started in about 10 minutes with Dr. G.W. Parker. He's going to be our presenter. But this is what I was listening to the other day, just to share with everyone about an interview with Elon Musk, right? Because, he was asked, so how do you feel about politics? He said, this is too much of a hassle because no matter what you do, you can't please everyone. You're going to make some people, uncomfortable, and some things are not going to work, to the point that he went back, quite billions of dollars because of that decision that he made. And then they asked him, would you be willing to step again in the game of politics? He says, no, I wouldn't do that because that deviates the purpose of what I do. But he had to go through that failure to expose himself from the business world into politics. Because in politics, I don't think you can be, inclined to one side or the other. I think you'd have to be in the middle to be able to decide to make things work. So he says, I would never step, on the road to politics anymore because that's not my calling. My calling is the business world. That's why I chose to completely focus and go back into that. What happened when he did that, when he was like billions of dollars and he was being criticized, made fun of, and took a real step back? That's a big failure. You're not losing $100 from your investment or $249. He was losing billions and billions and billions of dollars, and he was criticized by the billions of dollars that he lost and by the way he was handling politics. But he bounced right back up. He got out of it. He corrected all his mistakes, and his fortune in a very short time grew. I think it was probably about $80 billion, grew back like this. How do you think he corrected that big mistake and is still moving back right now? He's close to $1 trillion in his fortune right now because he knows that he cannot be attached to emotions, because if he does, he loses the center of his focus, which is building his empires. And that's what we do here. That's why Robert Kiyosaki teaches us to start thinking, don't risk too much, risk little. So if you're trading time for dollars, start risking, from your 9 to 5, start risking from 5 to 9, which is your part-time. Risk as much as you can without jeopardizing your 9 to 5. The minute that you start to risk more from 5 to 9, which is what do you do after 9 to 5, now you start to transition your thought pattern without risking a lot. But at least, you're putting yourself in the fire. And that's exactly what I did. That's how I was able to get out of the, 9 to 5 when I was 24. By the time I was 25, I was making more money part-time than I was full-time because I was willing to grind from, after 5. I was willing to do whatever it took. So start to do those things, and let's just stay close to the fire. And what a better way to have it than being surrounded with tremendous leaders like you all. You guys are here, I'm up since 5 a.m. And I'm here ready, 6:30 a.m. in front of my computer, joining forces with all you guys because I want to stay close to the fire. And staying close to you means a lot. It means being close to the fire because I know that not very many people are going to do what we do. Why? Because they're comfortable. And they're comfortable being where they are, maybe in their 9 to 5, complaining that they don't have enough money, but they're still there because they're not willing to pay the price after 5. What do they do from 5 to 9? All right. With that, on that note, Dr. G.W. Parker, we're going to play some music. Let me just stop the recording.